Popcorn Junkies, welcome to this review of episodes 3, 4, 5 and 6 of Alien Earth, the Disney Plus series, set before the original Alien. So let's plough straight on and go into episode 3. Episode 3 was called Metamorphosis. We have the bunch of youngsters. They've all got kind of, well, no, they're not youngsters. They're sort of hybrids, aren't they? Where they've had sort of dying children's personalities put into grown-up bodies. And they're all the kind of lost children, if you like. The Peter Pan analogy runs all the way through this. So episode 3 starts with one of those lost children, if you like, or lost hybrids, Nibs, asking why are they all named after Peter Pan, which begs the question, does the Peter Pan analogy work? Neverland. It kind of does with the sort of strange sociopathic tech impresario head of Prodigy. Is it the Prodigy planet? He's almost, is he meant to be Peter Pan? Because actually, when you actually go into the Peter Pan story, Peter Pan is mischievous and naughty and slightly dispassionate and kind of disconnected from the consequences of anything. Have you ever noticed that about Peter Pan? He's a bit weird. He's a bit one step removed from like the emotional consequences of things, which, if you like, Cavalier Boy in this is the same. So in episode 3, Morrow, who's the kind of surviving, what is he? He's a surviving cyborg from the original ship, the Maginot, which has crashed into Earth. He's the one sort of survivor, but he's not really a survivor because he's a kind of human cyborg type thing. His character becomes sort of darker, more sinister. He becomes a driving force for kind of control and malevolence. He's brilliantly played. He's deeply unemotional. He has all those wonderful qualities that you can only get away with in things like Alien and Blade Runner, where you're a character, but you have no character. But in having no character, you've got so much character. It's quite frightening. He's impassive. We assume he's villainous, but actually, if you think about it, he's just doing his job. Morrow is just making sure that the specimens on the crashed Maginot ship go back to the owner of the ship. Morrow is just fighting for the ship. So what happens is he meets the two of the sort of most infantile, if you like, of the kind of lost children. Well, Morrow grooms slightly. He slightly grooms slightly. Meanwhile, Wendy is fascinating. She's played by Sydney Chandler. Really enigmatic performance. She kills a xenomorph, and I'm not entirely sure about this. Should you so early on in a show, which sits before the original Alien film starring Sigourney Weaver, should you have a character, albeit a hybrid, should you allow her to kill a xenomorph? Because the xenomorph is the most dangerous alien of all, isn't it? So I'm not entirely sure about that. I can't work out if it sort of delegitimizes the fear we should feel around these monsters. Joe, Alex Lawther, who's kind of curiously Wendy's brother, because the personality or soul of his sister is in Wendy, even though it doesn't look like his sister. He gets injured, so they both get caught up in this fight. She kills the xenomorph and he gets injured and he loses a lung. And that lung, it's going to cost him. And by the end of episode 3, we've had Kirsch. Oh, come on, Kirsch, played by Timothy Olyphant. I just want to say elephant, but it's not. He is so good. If I have a criticism of all the episodes so far, all the way running up to 6, is I'd give us more. Give us more Kirsch. Give us more Timothy Olyphant, please. He's just brilliant. He's robotic. He's cyborgic. He's replicantish. There's just something about him. He's got that Rutger Hauer thing. So Joe, Alex Lawther's character, has his lung removed. He goes into recovery. But Kirsch then puts the lava from they kind of dissect a facehugger. And then, can you believe it? So the facehugger's bad enough in Alien, but in the facehugger there's a larvae. Well, I guess that's the thing. When a facehugger goes on your face, it goes in and it sort of impregnates you, doesn't it? Kirsch, Timothy Olyphant, he takes the larvae out, places it in the big latrine that has the kind of Alex Lawther's lung in it, and we see it go into the lung. This is great, this series, for larvae, for ticks, for leeches, for little crawly things which make you feel it's clever because they've kind of diversified the monster, but that diversification I don't think works in all instances. By the end of episode 3, Wendy can hear Monster frequency. She ends up collapsing. Episode 4. And as I just said, Wendy can now not only hear Xenomorph, we discover she can speak Xenomorph, and things are becoming dangerously like Dr. Dolittle meets Peter Pan. I can't work out whether because this is streaming on Disney Plus, they're sort of mining and exploiting and taking advantage of their IP, historic IP. I mean, I don't mind, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, she does a great job, Wendy, of making the noise, and you know that she's not making the noise. You know that they've dubbed it, and so there's a little part of you when you're watching it thinking, I bet Sydney Chandler felt really fucking stupid doing that. But it kind of works. But again, I don't know about this idea that Wendy feels as like she's a huge match for the monstrosity of the monsters. If she's an equal or stronger than the monsters, where's the fear? The octopus eye monster, I know a number of you were saying to me, you didn't mention the fucking eye monster, this sort of eye on tentacles that was in the cat in episode 1. I find this one a bit weird too. I don't mind this monster when it's in the head cavity or eye cavity of another creature. But I'm not entirely blown away by it as it scuttles around on its stupid tentacles. So I'm not a big fan of the octopus eye monster. So in this one, it's allowed to kill a goat and occupy the right eye of the goat. And then the goat, really for the next 3 episodes, just sort of stands in this glass cabinet just staring at the world. It's kind of weird. Not sure about the eye. I mean, something that's quite intriguing and enigmatic about the whole eye monster is it's not been revealed yet what it's taking information in for. It really feels like it's biding its time. I wonder whether that's going to be the big reveal in episode 8. Morrow kicks up or presses down on or intensifies the blackmailing of Slightly. Slightly is annoying. He's such a kid. I have to say, some of the kind of the grown-up kids, the lost kids, you know what they are, the hybrids, they're brilliant at playing childlike, you know, being like children in adult bodies. It's quite funny. They don't overdo it. It's quite a hard thing to do. But yeah, so Morrow, who, as I said, you know, is the if you like, the last surviving member of the Maginot ship, you know, and his mission. He's not a bad guy. He's just having to do what he needs to do to keep the specimens alive and get them back to his bosses. Well, he threatens Slightly's mum. He calls them up and goes, I know where your mum is. In fact, I'm sitting right next to her. She's here right now, and I'll kill her if you don't get me an egg. I need you to get me an egg. And how do you get an egg? How do you transport an egg? How do you smuggle an egg? Well, you've got to get a face hugger to hug the face of someone. And then that leads to another set of questions. The face hugger can only lay itself or lay the larvae in a human, not a hybrid, not a cyborg, nothing else. It can only lay it in a human. So Slightly has got quite a slightly difficult mission. Meanwhile, Nibs, one of the other, again, all the names are from Peter Pan. Nibs, one of the younger women of the group, like Wendy, she thinks she's pregnant. And don't forget, in episode 2, she had the kind of octopus eye all over her face, tentacles going in her face. She thinks she's pregnant, and we're all kind of like, as we're watching it, we're going, you can't be pregnant. You're a hybrid. But can she be pregnant? I just wonder if she might. You know, you couldn't help but feel. Has she misunderstood something? Has she been unprogrammed? Has she been reprogrammed? Is she malfunctioning? Has something gone awry? Anyway, she thinks she's pregnant and she goes fucking rageful. And that's kind of that's quite a neat little kind of thing parked in there. We've got sort of hormonal psycho lost girl hybrid in Nibs who genuinely believes she's pregnant. Meanwhile, Alex Lawther's like, do you know what? I want to get out of this fucking shit show. I'm out of it. I've got one lung. I've got a kind of an electric or kind of high-tech lung. My sister is clearly going to just be kept here and used for experiments and made to talk Xenomorph, and she can hear Xenomorph and sing Xenomorph. But Alex Lawther's like, I'm out of it. But then Aid Edmondson, from the young ones, he says, don't fuck about. You're not leaving. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay for your lung and you'll be broke. Clever. I liked all that. I like the kind of economics of things. I'm a big fan of when you get, it's like in the books Dune, when you get given that extra everyday detail about the sort of economic structure or the social structure or religious structure of these futuristic worlds. I love all that sort of stuff. So he wants to leave, Alex Lawther, but he's told basically he can't, because if you do, you're going to pay for your lung, your artificial lung that we've given you, or you can have your old lung back, but you won't be able to breathe. And he's like, oh, fuck. Meanwhile, it's shown to us that Kirsch, Timothy Olyphant, what is going on with Timothy Olyphant? Anyone here who is watching it, if you're watching it, please tell me, what do you think is going on with Timothy Olyphant? He's so sort of inscrutable. He's utterly inscrutable. You don't know. He's taking stuff in and you don't know what he's doing with information, like all great, brilliant synths. He's a synth. They're like great synths, like all the synths from every Alien. You're like, you're reliable. You make me feel safe, but also you frighten the fuck out of me too. And as a synth, he's monitoring, he's listening in, and he's watching the fact that Morrow is blackmailing Slightly. And he's obviously, maybe he's just sort of curious to see whether Slightly will go through with it and what this means. But I can't help but feel Timothy Olyphant. Is he a baddie? Is he gonna wreak vengeance or betray Cavalier Boy? And by the end of episode 4, the whole Dr. Dolittle fucking plotline amplifies as Wendy pacifies and placates a small xenomorph, a very cute little xenomorph, baby xenomorph, a little xenomorph on a little... She talks to it, she doesn't quite stroke it. And again, I think they might have made a mistake here. And I'm liking the series, there's a lot I'm really liking about it, but I do wonder whether they've made her too powerful and sort of unassailable. And you need to keep the bar, or the xenomorph and the alien specimens need to be quite sufficiently ahead of even hybrids for it to pose a threat in Alien, don't they? Or don't they? I don't know. Dr. Dolittle really kicks in at the end of episode 4. Episode 5. Now, episode 5 is really interesting. Episode 5 is a complete flashback to the Maginot, which is the ship that crashes. And we had quite a protracted scene at the beginning of episode 1 of the original crew, the old crew. And I said in the review of episode 1 and 2 that what I liked about that was you got a real sense of the old... the kind of the tech, the kind of the interactions, the sociability, the kind of informality of science, of space travel, a la the first Alien, which is one of the things that I think people underestimate about the first Alien film. What was great about it was, yes, they're in space, yes, they're in high-tech stuff, but they were also really ordinary and just really informal and wearing kind of shitty clothes when they were out of their starsuits, spacesuits, and would smoke cigarettes. And there was a kind of real authenticity to the interaction and the sociability and the group dynamic and the kind of people who did get on and the people who didn't get on, and the fact that one couple might be fucking all the time down in the I don't know, the kind of the health pod or the science pod or something like that. It was real. And what I liked about episode 5 was we had this great big flashback. And interestingly, this was directed by Noah Hawley, who is, the kind of showrunner, if you like, for this show, and was the guy behind Fargo. And this huge flashback basically unpacks the kind of, if you like, the sabotaging of the Maginot. Why did it go down? We get a real sense of Morrow in this. His position within the kind of hierarchy of the crew, his mission to preserve the specimens. And we essentially witness the crew of the Maginot fall apart, get killed, have sex with each other, get betrayed, get eaten, get scared. The octopus eye goes into the eye of the guy who I think was in some other Red Dwarf. I think he might have been in Red Dwarf. It was like, this episode is like an entire Alien movie all on its own. It's 55 minutes long. It's like, wow, this is like a proper Alien movie. And it was great. It was, all, as I say, all about sabotage, all about deceit, Morrow taking control. We get some of Morrow's backstory. He's got children. He's on a mission. He's trying to do the right thing for his kids. And this is a great episode for humanising Morrow. So you think he's a grooming bastard and he's a corporate lackey in the first episodes. And then you see this one and you're like, he's just trying to do what's right he wants to get back to his kids. And there's flashbacks to him with his kid on a beach and stuff like that. There's some brilliant horror in this one. Once again, we have the introduction of tiny aliens in the space lab. There's a moment where tiny larvae find their way into a drinking bottle, and there's this great sort of like 5 to 10 minutes where you're watching everyone handing this like, it's like a sort of like an aerobics, water drinker. And you're like, but don't drink from it, don't drink something that's gone in it, it's gone in it. And then of course someone drinks from it, and then they drink it, and then there's lots and lots and lots of blood. And we just watched the demise of the Maginot, and I think it was a really, whilst, it just holds together as a standalone episode. And part within this is the clue that actually Cavalier Boy the head of the Prodigy corporation, had some involvement with the saboteur. He was actually promising the saboteur on this ship. So whilst Cavalier Boy says, oh, well, it just crashed on our planet, he actually planned the crash. It was a false flag. God almighty. In this real world of Israel, we've got false flags everywhere. Now, look at this. This is a false flag. Which brings us to episode 6. Nibs, who thought she was pregnant, is reset. They wipe her mind and they reprogram her, and that upsets Wendy because she senses things have gone wrong. And Wendy starts to get sort of agency, and she becomes aware that I'm not entirely sure I like what's going on here. She's been manipulated, they've been manipulated. Her brother, Alex Lawther, says, wouldn't you like to get away from here? And she's like, what if I'd like to stay? There's a great moment between Alex Lawther and Kirsch, where he says, we want to be you might want to come with me and be in my family. We want to go and live as a family. And Kirsch is like, what kind of ambition is family? I like this episode. It kind of made you think existentially about, the importance of family and connection versus progress, adventure, scientific, breakthroughs. Fuck all that shit. We don't want to live forever. Well, mind you, these hybrids can live forever. That's the tech. That's what they've become. Wendy could live forever in Foreverland, not Neverland. And so there's a nice little kind of tension developing there between Alex Lawther, the human, just wanting to connect with his sister and just live on a farm. Meanwhile, Kirsch is like, what the fuck is wrong with you humans? Jesus Christ, you've got to have bigger ambitions than this, for God's sake. We have a really interesting, again, Dune-like, we have a brokered diplomatic meeting where you have someone in the middle, kind of, stewarding Yutani as they speak to the Prodigy Corporation. Cavalier Boy sits with his feet all over the desk because he's essentially Peter Pan and he doesn't care. Meanwhile, the head of Yutani, this is her ship, this is her cargo. But as Cavalier Boy says, it's crashed on our planet, and there are the quarantine rules, and they negotiate hard and fast. You can have $20 billion or whatever the money is. Deals are brokered. But Morrow is going to make sure that he gets the egg out. And that's really the kind of focal point of episode 6, is Morrow really pressing the boot down on Slightly's neck. And what we discover is Slightly, in one of the earlier episodes, has kind of been stalking Alex Lawther. And I'm like, oh no, you don't want to use Alex Lawther as basically the kind of incubator for egg and getting no, please don't use Alex Lawther. And in fact, what happens is Dame Sylvia, who's the scientist and kind of, Cavalier Boy's right-hand woman, she and her husband basically, her husband gets fired because he refuses to he refuses to basically remove the mind of Nibs. So Aid Edmund says, you're out, and if you don't get off the fucking island, by the end of the day, you'll be shot. So he, Arthur, becomes the likely carrier of the egg. He's the one that Slightly goes after, and it's really depressing. But before all of that, Tootles, who's one of the other kind of lost boys, Tootles kind of basically comes to a really sticky end because he goes into the laboratory, he's feeding all of the specimens because Kirsch is off doing something. And whilst he's feeding all the specimens, what a fucking moron, he gets trapped in the one with the big fucking nest and with the flies. Now, I have to say, the flies destroy him. I'm not entirely sure about the menagerie of animals. All the way through this, you've got a goat with this fucking octopus eye kind of type thing. And it's just looking at everyone. It's quite kind of funny. It could make a funny meme. It's just, this goat is just watching everything going on. You can't help but feel, what the fuck is going on in that goat's head? Because this whole episode ends with a cutaway of the goat just turning around and it goes over to the corner like, it's done something. But anyway, Tootles, who's ambitious, he's had his name changed, I think, and he's in there doing Kirsch's work. He gets trapped, he gets wedged, and then he gets stung, and then he gets vomited on, and then he has gas in his face from these giant mosquitoes. But because he's not human, milk comes out of his face. That horrible thing where kind of the liquidy, milky stuff comes out, and he sort of fizzes and he kind of dies. And then Slightly lures Arthur into the same space. And in this space, the face hugger, the egg opens, and Slightly's done the job. Morrow's managed to groom Slightly into being an absolutely slightly nasty guy. And so the face hugger gets him. He drags him into a vent, and we're all set. A good moment in this between Kirsch and Morrow in a lift. Some real kind of, what's the word, when you've got not camaraderie, quite the opposite, some real kind of competition, hostility, sort of, they're sparring with each other. He's having a go at him for being a cyborg, and he's having a go at Kirsch for being a synth. And I tell you what, I just want more Timothy Olyphant. But I'm fascinated to know what the reveal is going to be on Kirsch. What is his agenda? Is he working for Yutani? Maybe he is. Maybe that's how he knows Morrow. I don't know. But then why would Morrow go to such sort of extraordinary lengths if Kirsch was part of the team? Or has Kirsch got ambitions to kill Cavalier Boy? Cavalier Boy he's cavalier. He's cavalier in everything he does. So basically, by the end of episode 6, Arthur, poor old Arthur, the lovely scientist who means well, and who incidentally has deactivated Wendy's security thing in her so that she can be taken off the island, and he gives the code to Joe, Alex Lawther, to be able to get them off. So there's a route out away from the island now. So there's an escape route for Wendy and Alex Lawther. And we've also got poor old Arthur with a face hugger around his face being impregnated. I mean, Alien, it's good. I mean, as I say, I'm not entirely sold on all the various iterations of the creatures, and I'm really not sold on the idea that the xenomorph is controllable or tameable, even though it's only tameable by Wendy. I think Wendy is it puts Wendy right at the top of the kind of animal tree. She's the alpha creature. And so she's the unassailable one. She's killed one, she's tamed one, she speaks it, she dances it. She does the xenomorph dance. So there are some kind of uneven parts of this, but all in all, it's an incredibly immersive. It's tense, it's scary. I watch it sometimes in the dark, and it's nice. It looks great. The performances are brilliant. And there's lots of different narrative lots of different storylines moving along. So, what will happen to Nibs, who's now been reprogrammed, who thought she was pregnant? What's going to happen to Wendy and Joe? What's going to happen to Arthur? What's Dame Sylvia going to say when she finds out her husband's got a face hugger on him? Is Morrow going to be able to reunite with his daughter? And what's going to happen between the two great big Yutani and Prodigy corporations? All in all, a really rewarding series. Share your thoughts below, and reviews of episodes 7 and 8 will land as and when they come out.